Hey, the USA defeated Serbia today. And oh, what a win that we had today. It was unbelievable, especially if you was a USA fan. But it's one question that we had today. Tatum didn't play again this game. And it's that question out there that my man Stevo brought to the table that he's been hearing around. Is Jason Tatum the most overrated player in NBA? We're going to talk about it.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
Welcome to NBA Central, your number one source for anything basketball. We got my boy Stevo in the building, my nephew in the building, Cognac boy Bobby. I'm slurring my words. It's my first time being a host in a long time. But guess what? We're gonna pull it all the way through it. Jason Tatum, bro. Now, Stevo, you just told me something. I want you to tell the world. Is Jason Tatum the most overrated player in NBA?
Man, I like shit. Like, to be honest, like, I don't personally want to say it, but like, I get the thought process of what people are thinking. So this was I was having a conversation with a couple people. And it's also like it's funny that they had this conversation because I've been peeping it on Twitter, I've been peeping it on IG, this, that, and the third. And I'm just sitting here like the word overrated keep popping up around the name of Jason Tatum. Now everybody kind of know my thoughts about him. I think at times he's shy away from the moment. He's not as aggressive as he can be. He's one of those players where like we know he easily has the talent to be one of the greats, but we
Yeah.
don't know if he will be that due to some of his I would say his style when it comes to the game. Like we all know for him being a Kobe disciple and everything, we know that mama mentality, but we don't really see it. There's very few times that we see it. So this what they brought forth. Like they talked about the times where out of everybody at his age, he's 25 years old. He's probably one of the most decorated 25-year-olds in the NBA history to be in the conference final as many times that he's had. I think it's twice at this age before winning the finals. Being in the playoffs probably the last 5 to 6 years of his career, coming into the situation alongside with Jalen Brown. And all through those times, we've seen that in big games and big moments, Jalen Brown is the guy that get them out that jam. When it's time, when they need a big shot and everybody looking at him, he's standing on that corner looking at everybody else, and Jalen Brown gonna get that ball and do what he got to do. Now we all know that this man Tatum is more talented than a Jalen Brown.
I agree.
But that was the question in even, and this is probably the craziest thing that made me think about it. When have we ever seen the quote unquote star player of the team win a championship finally? But not only do they give it, and it was well deserved, the finals MVP to the other player, but not only that, now is real talks of saying who's the actual better player for real.
Ooh, it's whew. Maybe Shaq and Kobe. Am I wrong with that?
What you mean?
Right. What
Uh,
do you mean by that?
I mean, it was obvious that Shaq was the
Oh,
better player,
okay.
but Kobe was the one finishing the games, making the plays to win the championships or sealing the game against the Trailblazers. It was Kobe who made the play to make the alley oop to Shaq. Is that close to what you said, or
I
that's the
mean,
only
you
one I can
can't. I
think
mean,
of?
you could look at it that way. I mean, that's kind of similar. Like, I mean, when it comes to Kobe and Shaq, I feel like when Shaq came to the Lakers, like by none, Shaq was the better player, and we knew that.
Yeah.
But we seen Kobe come along, and once that friction happened around that, possibly winning that fourth championship, and they didn't do it, and the Detroit happened. Then it flipped because we seen what Kobe was turning into. We seen what Kobe was doing, and we seen okay, he potentially has to. But the difference is, Kobe has the talent, everything that you can do as a player. Shaq towards the end of his career, we was kind of slowly getting out of the big man game. So it's like it's two different kind of situations when it comes to that. But like I think they just feel like a lot of players just don't feel like when we talk about SGAs, when we talking about Anthony Edwards, even Jaws, Jokic, the best players in the league, people are more hesitant to say Tatum more than anybody else. And
I
that's
see
just
that.
due to his it's almost like he's not all the way like he's not pulling everything out of him that we feel like he can.
I feel that too to a degree because when you talk about Jason Tatum, you can say right now he's a top 10 player in the NBA. But we know if he came in with a different mentality, he could absolutely
Top
be
five.
top five easily,
Yeah.
especially with the skill set. Come on now, with the height and the weight that he got and everything that he can do in the multiple positions that he could, play and defend on the defensive side because he is a
Yup.
good defender as well as a good offensive player. And I honestly the narrative around him is around the NBA is the NBA is trying to crown a young face of this league. And Jason
Yeah.
Tatum been here for a minute. And I believe Ja was hurt last year and ran into the dumb stuff. But the year before that, they was trying to give it to him. They
They
tried to give it
tried.
to Jason Tatum a little bit, but that immediately is now given to Anthony Edwards.
Or
Yeah.
Luka.
Or
Easily.
you know what I'm saying? So so that's why I kind of see it. But and I think that one of the things that's really hurting and it's kind of adding on to the conversation is the this is the second time he was benched in USA in the game. And a lot of people's like, well, why Derek White playing? You know what I'm saying? Because Jason Tatum could do some of the same similarities or whatever and things like that. But I'm not gonna say he's overrated, but I can see where some people resentment is coming from because we want to pull something out of him that we believe, you know what I'm saying, he has in him, but he's still yet to show us at least, you know what I'm saying, so
Yeah.
far in his
And
Yeah,
and
I'm go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, because I'm gonna ask a
No,
question
I
after.
was just saying, like, I'm with you. I don't really necessarily want to say he overrated. I think what's happening is you got people less us that's looking at it from a frame of like we know what Tatum is, we know what he could bring out of it, but then you just got them Tatum fans or them Boston fans that think he's that. Like you should be talking to him up there with the Bronze and the KDs and the MBs and stuff like that. And we sitting here like, and then when you get into that talk, then you be like, man, he over fucking rated, but he not really. But you know what I mean. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't necessarily believe that he's overrated. I think he, like you said, he's definitely a top 10 player.
Yeah.
But we know he can be a top 5 if he put his mind to it.
Yeah. And with that said, I want to just cut the BS. And this might be a far left question about these two. Let's just add Jaylen Brown in there. And since we was talking about Kobe and Shaq, we knew I don't you guys are pretty young. I don't know if y'all know about the clippings and the pressings years prior to them actually breaking up. This
I
is the
remember.
this is the question I pose about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown because I think saying he's overrated is just crazy to me.
Disrespectful.
Yes. How do they play together for the next 5 years? And if you say 5 years, I'm cool. But do you see these two guys playing on the same team together for the next 5 years?
career. Why
Nope.
not?
When
Nope.
has it ever? When has the media all? And it's not. And it has nothing to do with them. I promise,
Nothing.
it's nothing to do with them.
Nope.
The media always mess it up.
Yep.
And it from the smallest duos to the top. We
Yep.
you if I don't know if you know about the whole John Wall and Bradley Beal, they was great friends. And
Yep.
then they got to the point where he had to pull Bradley Beal to the side, like, "Hey, yo, we cool." Once it get to that point,
You ain't cool.
it's going to get to that point. Matter of fact, it comes to a head with every duo. It is what it is. Not necessarily to the degree with MJ and Scotty, but they both parted ways.
Yeah.
Two
They
different
not even cool no more.
situations. Yeah, and they not even cool no more. Exactly. So like, I can't think of a pairing that stayed together, especially that was that good
That was that good.
individually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Like
so
when they're
would you say it's a little
I
different
don't
from
know.
Steph and Clay?
That's a great question, nephew.
Because if we saying that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, we might gonna let, you know what I'm saying, the media kind of creep into this, and there's a potential that they might not be together for the next 5 years. Steph and Clay was together for what, about over a decade or something like that.
That
But
that
the
was a
media did kind of thrust that wedge in between them, and like to go with your point, the media did wedge that self in there because they was saying that Klay Thompson's fell off. He's not the same anymore, and he's like they was putting out the perception that he was playing horrible. But if you ask many basketball people that watch the games, yes, he took a step back. But you can't tell me a guy that's giving you 18 points and then shooting 40% from the three is not a valuable piece to have on your team. But it was the money thing. But the thing is, with this situation, these guys are locked up now. you had the bread to pay them, and you paid them. I think that's where the difference is coming. The difference can come into play when you talk about those two guys.
Welcome, Drip, to the conversation. How you doing, Drip? Stevo brought to the conversation about there's been reportings and tweets about Jason Tatum being overrated. First question is, do you think that Jason Tatum is overrated? And the second question is, do you think that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will play the next 5 years together?
I don't think that Jason Tatum is overrated. I think that what's happening with Jason Tatum is what we see happen with a lot of people, is that he's good. But what happens is that people start talking about him being so good and he wins so much, or is on a team that wins so much, that then it starts becoming how do we break down his game? What doesn't he do well? Nobody said he's perfect. I don't think anybody is talking about him outside of a couple of rabid fans like he's one of the best players in the NBA. But he is a damn good player, and he's been damn good since his rookie year. Absolutely. And so he has improved his game. Does he have some flaws? Yeah, he does. Does he chuck a little bit too much at times? Yes, he can, and that happens. But I don't think Jason Tatum is at the point of being overrated. I think that people are now trying to talk about him as if he's overrated just because they're tired of the conversation around Jason Tatum. It's narrative, in my personal opinion. As far as will they play the next 5 years together, I think that if the Celtics have their way, yes. But as we know with the NBA is that it only takes one bad series for everything to change, or a couple of bad years for everything to change. I think that right now they're on the path to stay together for 5 years. They won a title. I think winning the title automatically gets you 2 more years together. If they can win another one, even make it to the finals again over the next 2 or 3 years, I think that is going to be guaranteed they play the next 5 years together.
Oh, interesting.
And I was gonna say to Bobby point because it's on my mind. I don't want to lose it. I think it's actually two things. Not only is it a media thing, I think it's either a media thing or the GM. Because, like you said, with the Stephen Clay thing, that was a GM thing. I think that was the front office. It needs to be a study of the downfall of that whole thing because there's a lot of key moments that messed up everything that I feel like prematurely ended that dynasty. So I think GMs or media is probably what's going to not have them. Let's say they might play 5 more years together, but they definitely not finish their career together. That just never happens.
I mean, it really happens. And I think it's interesting to point out, too, because something that we have when we have these conversations, you have to look at the second tax apron, right? So the Boston Celtics are going to be over the second tax apron for at least the next 2 years. But in 2026-27, they're $4 million below the salary cap. So that provides them some flexibility if they need to be. So the Boston Celtics have structured the contracts around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I'm not saying that they're still going to be over the luxury tax. I'm not saying they're going to stay beneath that, but they've given enough space to where if they thread the needle well, the second tax apron only has to be a thing for the next 2 years. Or if they're winning championships, let's do say that they win one championship out the next 2 years, that may be worth them continue to going into that second tax apron at that point when they got to make that decision.
Oh, that was interesting because I was gonna bring that up as my next question. With $600 million dollars invested in just 2 NBA players, maybe because the time is changing and the money is going up, you can afford that. That still seems a little bit a lot to me, but you just broke it down. Okay, I want to say this about Jason Tatum. Can he, with the departure of LeBron, who knows? It looks like he could play 5 more years, to tell you the truth.
Look like a good
KD and,
two.
and Steph Curry.
He's gonna try to stay in the league till you can play with Bryce too.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I was talking
I
to
hope
nephew
not.
early. Can Jason Tatum end up being the best player in the league? And well, after all this BS, all this slandering his name, slandering his game, could he still end up being the best player of this league?
You gotta flip that switch.
I say right now I'll give it more to Anthony Edwards to be the face of the league over Jason Tatum, but Jason Tatum he has the chance to be. But right now, because he's younger and because he gives more effort on both sides of the ball consistently to me, not to say that Tatum's a slouch defensively, he gets effort too, to me. And I'll say this, Jason Tatum does not have the personality of the
I was
face of
just
the
gonna
league.
go there.
Anthony
Wow.
Edwards has the personality of somebody that could be the face of the league.
Yeah, it's because once Anthony Edwards got started back talking, everybody was like, "Wow, he sounds and he sounds like Michael. Damn it, he's starting to look like Michael Jordan too." Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that was the stuff that was going on around Anthony Edwards, and that's what the point to was before what Drip got on is that was like the difficult thing about it is that we know how talented he is. It's just that everybody's trying to give it to him, but he just not, I guess, hasn't snatched it up. And it's already creeping into, you know what I'm saying, the airwaves of Jaylen Brown might be the best player. I've heard people say that on national media, say that Jaylen Brown is the better player. You know what I'm saying? So then he validated that, at least validated their point in their minds when he won the finals MVP and the Eastern Conference Finals trophy. So that's what's kind of that it's starting to build up. And now I'm anxious to see how Jason Tatum feel about being benched as well. And I said TJ Huzmazada said it earlier today. He better go and bust Steve Kerr ass every time he see him in the NBA.
And that was my point I was going to. Like, I need him for a flip the switch. And that only happens usually in the sports world, especially in basketball, an injury or a benching in some form of fashion. So hopefully this is the thing that take him like, oh, these motherfuckers think I'm pussy. I'm gonna show y'all.
That's what I'm saying.
You want
Because
to
like
get angry.
but that's my whole thing. Like I've been saying, he has the talent to be the best player in the league. He's been healthy. It's just I just need you to grab it by the reins. He hasn't grabbed it. Like that's all I need. But the personality, I don't think there's nothing he can do about that. He gonna be him.
He is
That's a
who
fact,
he
and
is.
I don't want him to be nothing else but
Yeah.
nothing else but himself. But I did have a question for y'all. Why do y'all think he's been winning all these games? He's been winning. Why do you think that the league has been kind of not really considering him in MVP conversations these past few years,
I think it's because
especially with all the winners he doing?
it's because he plays with a player like Jaylen Brown. I think that's just what it comes down to. And I think that's where when people try to have the conversation whether it's Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum and who's the better player, I think the thing that people don't consider in that conversation is the fact of how much do these guys benefit with the fact that they play with somebody the caliber of the other one on their team. I don't think Jason Tatum is the same player on a team that does not have somebody the caliber of Jaylen Brown. And I think the same thing about Jaylen Brown when it comes to Jason Tatum. I think there's something to be said as long as you have that internal conversation. As much as having a 1A and 1B rather than a 1 and 2 are important to team building, if you can have a true 1A, 1B, that takes you to the stratosphere, right? You don't necessarily have to have a big 3 at that point because you got a 1A and 1B. But it hurts your conversation in awards because it gives the voters, which are media people, that little bit of doubt to say, all right, yeah, his numbers are great, but he's playing with Jaylen Brown.
That makes sense.
And that's where it becomes a problem for me, Haize. Not necessarily what you're saying, because what you're saying is correct. I'm talking about with the voters. Because when Kevin Durant's first year, you know what I'm saying, playing with Golden State, they was really talking about giving him MVP.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this
situation.
guy has been here, you know what I'm saying? And this is a homegrown built team for the most part, at least for these two guys. They drafted there, playing there. Why nothing? You know what I'm saying? So it's just something that we got to definitely talk about, because it's a bit strange sometimes when they, omit certain things out of these conversations, for sure.
And if you just look at his style, it's not as flashy as others, like Anthony Edwards. It's not
Yeah.
like even like I was thinking like maybe he could be a Paul George because don't get it misconstrued. A lot of these young dudes think Paul George is up there. So
They do.
like
Oh,
he
yeah.
don't necessarily have the personality, but he was pretty flashy in his earlier years
Oh,
before
yeah.
he just became fully smooth Paul George. He came into the league smooth. So like I just think when you have players like John Morant, Anthony Edwards in the league and they're constantly being more and more consistent, it's going to be hard for him to be the face of the league. And as well as you ain't talking that much, you ain't doing all that. You got Anthony Edwards that's dunking, doing everything you can do on the floor, but he talking shit. So they gonna look at him. John Morant the same way. He talking shit. They gonna look at him.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
Even Luka, they're putting Luka over him. He's talking shit.
That's a good aspect to look at. And both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum don't really talk shit. But let me ask you guys this question to flip it. Do either one of Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, while they play together, win an MVP in your opinion?
Oh, I think no.
While they play together,
While
Yeah,
they're
while
on the
they
same
still
team,
same
does
team.
either one of them be able? Because I could see if one of them go away to a team that's really more so built around them,
yeah.
maybe they do it. But while they're on the same team, and the reason why I asked that is that the Boston Celtics had a historic point differential. Historic.
They did.
And did Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum even finish in the top 3 of MVP voting?
No.
Nope.
No. But
You're right. You're right. This is the only way that one of them can win a MVP. If one of those guys separate themselves from the other guy and they come away from being Katie and Steph to Mike and Scotty. That's the only way. You have to separate it that far.
Yeah,
That's
I
the only
agree.
way.
I think the only way it happens, and I think it's going to happen down the road if it's possible, maybe 3-4 years down the road. And the only way I say that is because the team around them is good alongside with them. So with this contract, they're not going to be able to keep a Porzingis. They're not going to be able to keep. They're going to eventually get a lesser team. So during that time, one or the other is going to have to put up a little bit more points because I think their problem is they're putting up great numbers, but they're not putting up MVP numbers versus the people that are in contention of winning MVP. They wasn't both of them was probably 26, 25 points per game. When you got other people's averaging 30 plus, you're not going to do that when you have them, Jaylen Brown next to you and Tatum next to you, and you got an Al Horford and a Chris Stapps and a good team around you. When that team dwindles down, I think that's going to be their best chance to get it. One of
It's starting to
them
happen now, to be honest with you. Like Al
Well,
Horford's
yeah.
38 years old. Kristaps Porzingis is not going to be healthy to start the season. They do have a Derek White there. Make no mistake about that. But like, I mean, we may be there by the end of these contracts that they're on because they're both locked in, I think, for 5 or 6 more years. So we could see that by the end of it.
We could, but I think the chances of it happening is going to be really low. For either one of them guys to win an MVP while being paired together, unless one, like Cdub said, it changes. You know what I'm saying? Somebody have a drop off in scoring. I don't see with the mentality of Jaylen Brown,
No.
it ain't happening.
Not with
This
Jaylen.
is just it, and I think that's just what they gonna have to. But hey, if you ask them what they rather have, I'm good with the rings over the MVP trophy. So go ahead and pile on the rings because you can absolutely still supplant yourself in the history books and write your name in that by winning championships. It ain't just down to MVPs. Go get a couple more chips and become one of the greatest teams of all time if you could.
Oh, bro, and this has been a great conversation about the somebody saying
Pretty
that
much the narrative.
Jason Tatum saying that he overrated is crazy to mostly all of us. I think we all disputed that.
That's crazy.
I do got a problem with his personality and him being the MVP and the best leader.
He's from Creve Coeur, Missouri, bro. Like he's
Yeah.
not like he's from. They got to. I get every time they try to say he's from St. Louis, I look and be like, this nigga is from Creve Coeur, bro.
That sound like a fucking ice cream.
Like come on, bro.
Oh, the real.
Let me get some of that Creve Coeur.
Like the whole area county of Creve Coeur all calls each other if a Mexican steps foot in Creve Coeur. You ain't about that life, my boy.
Oh man, but I will say this before we end that Jason Tatum game has a lot of personality. I just give him that.
His game, yes, is his person, and I'm fine.
with that.
I tell you what, I'd much rather have somebody that game speaks for them,
Yeah,
and then when we're winning than somebody who needs to yap. Now, if we could win
Dylan
and
Brooks.
you can yap, that's different. But
That's
I'd much
different
rather
level.
that the game talk.
Yeah. So you
So,
just talking about Dylan Brooks. You just throwing shots at Dylan Brooks,
Just a
basically.
little bit.
Go
Just a
with
little
such a little slander. Anybody got anything else to say before we get up out of here?
Hey, it just came to my mind, but we gotta do a video because I know y'all see that well, it wasn't even a subliminal. Did y'all see what SGA said about Jamal
Oh,
Murray?
my nephew just told me about it.
That's coming
SGA.
soon.
Spit some lit, SGA. I'm just playing.
Now, fuck that, Jamal Murray. You gotta defend yourself.
You feel me? What?
What?
That's crazy.
Hey, so y'all make sure y'all stay tuned for that episode because that is going to be fire. We trying to get to 2,000 in our subscriber count. Make sure y'all punch that subscriber button. We appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all poke that like button, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. What's wrong with you
violent
guys, bro?
motherfucker.
That's wrong with y'all, bro.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.